So, hello everyone, welcome to EduTap. So, guys, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome Mr. Deepak, who has recently cleared the RBI Grade B Phase 2 examination. So, Deepak has the feeling synced in now as you have cleared the RBI Grade B examination. Because the first important thing that generally comes to the mind of a student is seeing a result and seeing your name in that list. It's really a great feeling. So, has the feeling synced in now?
Yes, it has definitely sunk now, and definitely I was really happy as I was an aspirant for 4 long years, and landing in a grade B job in RBI is really a good pleasure.
Okay. So Deepak, I would request you to give a little bit introduction of yourself to the students also, that what are you preparing and how RBI came to you.
Hello to everyone once again. I am Deepak Katwa. I graduated from Veer Mata Jijawai Technological Institute in Mumbai in 2018, and I have been preparing since then for the civil services examination. I have given 3 civil services main examination. Incidentally, I also gave RBI Grade B back in 2018, just when I had graduated. But at that time, neither I had the adequate knowledge nor the awareness of importance of this examination. So after that, I did not even think of giving this examination, and I was stuck in the loop of the civil service examination. So after this year's, after the second mains, which I gave in June, I knew that I had to look for good opportunities, and I knew that RBI was a great opportunity because my immediate seniors were selected just last year, 2 of them. So that became a immediate inspiration for me, and I was focused that yes, I had to do well in this exam.
So Deepak, as you are saying that you were preparing for UPSC, so because when I talk about UPSC and when I talk about RBI, one major difference that is in both examination is, if I talk about, there are some topics which I can say that is finance and management is one topic which is quite different from UPSC, because generally you are not preparing these kind of topics. And if we talk about the recent change in the pattern of the examination, because many of the students felt that it is little bit helpful to the students who are preparing for UPSC, as the examination pattern has changed just last year. So what's your take on that? Because how you have approached these topics of that is especially finance and management, and what were your strategy on that also, especially the pattern that has changed, how much it has helped you?
I agree with you. The introduction of subjective paper in RBI has indeed greatly helped the UPSC aspirants because 33% is now subjective in the scoring paper, and if you include English, then it's the two-third of the paper. And in that sense, yes, it has greatly helped me. And regarding finance paper, even if I'm a UPSC aspirant, finance subjective we are generally aware of, and that is included in our studies. And in general, I love reading newspaper, and I follow the finance current affairs, economic current affairs, international with keen interest. So I had no issues tackling the subjective of finance. But yes, the objective part of both finance and management is, and the subjective part of management is a new syllabus. And for both of them, I referred EduTap. I referred EduTap's summary sheets. I did not watch the lectures, and I read the management and finance notes. I read a finance selectively, and I read management fully. I made notes out of them, and I revised again and again and again. And I think that greatly helped. The notes are really well organized, and I remember objective mostly came from the notes only, and the ones that I could not solve, I did not read it. Because, for example, company law, I thought they will never ask it, but they did ask.
Yes, I think that was a surpriser also for many of students, because
Yes,
there's a question on companies law that majority of students were not expecting. So as you were
exactly.
mentioning, yeah. So as you are
Yes, you do
mentioning
not
it,
expect CSR question, right?
yes, I think that's one thing. So Deepak, as you are mentioning about the notes that you have read, because the summary sheets that you have gone through. So because for, if I talk about finance and management, the descriptive paper there is, again, if I talk about little bit, it is from the topics that are being defined here. There are some defined topics from which generally the questions are being asked, especially in the finance and management topic. So as you were reading the summary sheets, so what were your strategy on that perspective, that what are the topics you thought that these are the important topics that I will be preparing first and then I will be moving further on?
Even in that respect, EduTap in itself has helped me. There was a video on YouTube by Anchit sir, which said that these are the topics important for subjective and these are the topic important for objective. I just made a screenshot of that and I just read only those topics. That's why I could not solve the objective part of finance, because it came as a shocker.
Okay,
So
okay,
I knew the subjective areas which are being asked repeatedly, and I just focus on that.
okay, okay, okay. So as you are preparing for UPSC, so how many uh, answers you were practicing on a daily basis, especially for finance and management? Because these are quite a little, it's not an easier, it's a little bit a tricky subject if I talk about. Because these are not general UPSC answers. These are little bit selective things which you have to prepare on.
That is true, but I was really confident of my subjective preparation because I have given three mains and I came very close to getting an interview call. And the civil service examination is really a rigorous paper where we have to write 6 hours of subjective. So, to be frank, I did not write even a single answer for finance and management both. But the viewers must not be misguided. I have written literally hundreds of answers before, and I know how to structure my answers. I know how to put keywords and how to write to maximum in few words, and that I have learned through UPSC preparation. And for those who are preparing just for RBI, I think subjective paper is a must, because I know one of my friends who scored very similar marks as mine in the objective papers, but he did not get through phase two because he had not done enough practice in the subjective paper.
So Deepak, when we talk about subjective paper, I think first of all, the most important thing before entering the subjective paper or as writing the descriptive answers will the phase one of the examination. And if I talk about here, the phase one is really grilling. From the past 2 years, phase one is really grilling, and it's not that just only QRE, it's GA also, which is getting tougher day by day, day by day. So because being from a UPSC background, generally QRE is not that thing which students generally practice more in UPSC. It's something that sometimes students find little bit hard. So what was your strategy for the phase one examination and especially for the QRE? What was your strategy for that?
Yes, I completely agree with you that on that part, and I would like to tell viewers specifically that most of the UPSC aspirant are very bad in QRE, because even if the quant CSAT cutoff in UPSC is 33%, I have seen the best of students fail in that part. And when they just switch to RBI, thinking about I will do great in phase two, it is just very difficult to clear phase one. And but my strategy was pretty simple. I'm pretty good in English, so I know that the howsoever difficult the paper will come, I'll score 20 plus definitely. And for GA, I know that I had a very simple strategy. I had to score 40 in GA. I did not target 60 in GA. I wanted to score 40 in GA, which was a very practical score. And I referred only one current affair magazines by other institution, which was a very short magazine. I referred current affairs for 6 months. I made notes out of them. Generally, people don't make notes, but I have a habit of making notes. I made notes out of them, and I read literally 10 times. I read those notes 10 times. I attempted EduTap's all three free mock tests, which they gave before phase one. And I just read and read and read, and I got 36.75 marks, and I was happy with that. And but quant and reasoning, yes, coming from UPSC background, it was a difficult it was a difficult challenge. But since I'm an engineer and had a maths background, it was a bit easier. But at the same time, I cannot take it granted, because quant is extremely difficult in phase one. You cannot take it granted at all. It is extremely difficult. And to be honest, when I came out of the exam hall, and I had just attempted 8 questions in quant. So I was looking back at the previous year's cutoff, and I knew that 6 was the cutoff for general category. And I thought that if I get two wrong, I'm out of this race. So I thought I'm not going to clear phase one. But the result came, and I just wronged one question. So I had 6.75 marks. And in reasoning also, I was good in those critical reasoning type of questions. I get them right usually. And there are usually one puzzle which is very easy. So you target that easy question and play on your strength. And I had scored around 20 marks, and my final score was around 84.5 something, which was a pretty comfortable score. But practice is very key here. For quant and reasoning, both I had given EduTap's mock test, I had given the 3 mock tests which were free, and I also used to solve daily 5 questions which are available on other websites platforms. I did not do any uh, practice for difficult questions. I knew that I had to be just accurate, and I just tried to do that.
So Deepak, as you were mentioning about mock test, first of all, so really thankful to you that because you have given the mock test. So mock test is something which when you have given the mock test, as you were sharing with us that you have scored around 36 or 37 marks in the GA section. But how was how these 3 mock tests help you in the final examination? You have targeted some specific sections here that yes, I will be analyzing on this specific section, or overall mock test also you have tried to analyze that what are the positives you can take from this mock test?
Uh, yes, mock test does give you an indication of where you are going good and where you are going bad, and in definitely it helps you to track your preparation and make some improvements. And in that regard, in GA, I did not focus on any specific part. Everything is factual, so you just read and read everything. So I was just focused on revision and revision. In English also, I used to score pretty good in EduTap's mock test, which was extremely difficult. I used to see that. I remember I got 81 in first mock test, 89 in second. In only the third one, I got 118. So I was confident going into the all, but I knew that quant and reasoning would be difficult.
So content reasoning is like a grilling for you. As you're saying that,
Exactly.
as you're saying that you
I
are from
remember
engineering background, but still you are saying, "Okay, sir, UPSC aspirant, it's not that easy, right to write."
it is nobody's birthright to do well in quant just because you're an engineer. I remember when the quant section started, I was just clicking next, just to find the one the easy question, and finally I was able to solve only 8 questions.
But as the thing that you are mentioning about content reasoning, but I will also want to do as you are saying that you know that GA and ESI was your strength, and this is something
GA
that
in
you
English,
GA
yes.
and English was your strength. So I just wanted to have an idea that you should share with the aspirants also, because generally what the students do is, if for example GA is someone's strong point, so he has a mindset that I have to score 60 marks in GA. Okay, this is my strong point, I have to score maximum marks in GA. And if quant reasoning is not my good point, I will be scoring only 5 to 6 questions in quant reasoning, which will just be a helpful that I can clear the cutoff. But looking at the general awareness section, if I specifically talk about the GA is first of all, you have to solve these 80 questions in a time frame of just 25 minutes. Then the level of questions are increasing because there are statement based questions also. Some questions are very, very factual in nature. So what was your approach at that point of time, being a UPSC aspirant, being GA was one of the section which you were saying, "Okay, this is my strong section." So what was your strategy on that point?
No, I would like to again say that for UPSC aspirant, GA is not a strength actually, because UPSC does not ask factual questions.
Yes.
So here we have to read the source multiple times, and we have to learn the facts like other aspirant does. But I would like to suggest to viewers that you should not have a strategy which focuses on scoring in only one paper. You should have at least 2 strength out of those 4 papers. And since I've given this examination, it is extremely difficult to score 45 and 50 marks in GA paper. Some people might get it, but they are extremely few people, and uh, God knows they can ask from anywhere. There are so many facts, you cannot know everything, and even if you have read, but sometimes you do not apply those facts. And when the exam in the exam all that question comes, you know that you have read this, but you do not know the answer. So it's really tricky. You have to have 2 strength. Either it should be GA or reasoning, or it should be GA or English. It cannot be GA or quant, except for some exceptional people. But GA is definitely most scoring. You can score practically 40 marks, but at the same time, you should have a one paper where you are scoring around 25, so that you are comfortably scoring more than 75, 80 marks.
I think that's a very important point that he has made. First of all, for the non-UPSC backgrounds, one thing that he has shared is that it's a myth that UPSC aspirants know each and every part of the current affairs. One thing that he has cleared for all the non-UPSC aspirants, that yes, guys, it's difficult for both people. Even if you are preparing for such a high-level examination of UPSC, also then also the GA is difficult for those students also. The second very important point that he has made, that all the aspirants who are now starting preparing for the examination, is that you should have two strengths. As he has just mentioned, that it's not, because it could be a case, the thing that you are assuming that it's my strength point, and it could be a thing that these are that section becomes really really
Disaster.
tough, and then it will be really really difficult for you to clear this examination. So it's a really important point that Deepak has shared with all the aspirants. वो उनको नोट कर लेना चाहिए कि this is a very important point. Work on all the sections. Yes, there will be a thing that one section will be your very strong point, but other sections should also be in such a way. It should not be like that कि बिल्कुल ही नहीं आपको आना चाहिए. You should have a proper idea of that. And talking about English, English is generally becoming now a scoring subject from the past 2 years. Many students are saying that yes, English is a scoring subject. But then also I just wanted to ask you that what should be the approach for these kind of things? Because if English is easy, so what should be the range that should be in the mind of a student? Okay, yes, this is how much I could score in this. I could score in this examination, especially the sections like English, which are not something that you have to read. It's not GA that you have to cram something. It's not quant and reasoning where some formula will be used. It's just an implication of the things that you have learned in your preparation. So what will be your strategy? What will be your strategy to what will you guide to the students, for students who are preparing basically for English? That what should be their approach for these kind of sections, especially English?
So, definitely, I have not studied any grammatical rule or some English book. I read newspapers, plain and simple. I've read newspapers since last 5 years, and even if I don't know some grammatical rule, I have a feeling that this should be it, and on the basis of that, I do well. So my first and foremost advice will be to just read newspapers, read it loudly. It will not only spoken English, which is necessary for, not necessary, desirable for the interview stage, but also it will make the English section very high scoring for you all. And if the English paper comes easy, you should be able to score 25 plus. And if it is tough, target around 17 18 marks would be even good as well, because I know that this year my friends scored 11 12 marks this year. So you cannot take it granted. You have to go into the exam all open minded, thinking that any section might come tough and any section might come easy. So you have to devise your strategy according to the paper it comes on the day of the exam.
And talking about, if we're talking about phase one examination, again, I would just wanted to ask you one question on GA. I just thought okay, students might be wondering I'm asking more questions on GA, but one thing I just wanted to ask you, statement-based questions. Now, this is something, and if I talk about especially, there were some statement-based questions which were on finance static. If I talk about DICGC, there was a statement-based question. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, there were statement-based questions. So, what was your approach there? Because what I personally wanted to ask you is, what students should do, whether to they should skip this kind of questions in the examinations because they are becoming tougher and tougher, and if they are approaching this kind of question, so what should be their approach for these kind of questions?
Yes, again, we see an interlinkage of paper here. If your English is strong, if your reading is strong, you can certainly sift through those lines very fast. But at the same time, I would suggest aspirant to look at the previous year questions. Many at that time, so they are giving first four lines as just a background, which has no connection whatsoever with the question being asked. So I had seen that pattern in the 2021 paper. So I knew that if there's a big question, mostly what is being asked is the last line. So I just glossed over the question and came out to the last line. And that is basically what is making point in the question, because they are giving those 4 or 5 lines just to waste your time basically. So once you know the previous year paper, you have some idea as to how they are trying to deceive you in the exam hall.
So again, an important point that he has made is Deepak has made is analyzation of PYQs is a very important thing, because it will surely give you an idea that what examiner is asking, or which is the approach on which the examiner is basically framing the questions or asking the questions for the examination. Now, after phase one, the next important thing is we have discussed about the descriptive paper of finance just a few seconds earlier, that you were saying that yes, there are some topics that are important, and she has mentioned. I think Anchi sir will be really helpful for looking at the thing that you have mentioned, that the list that he has shared, because this is one thing that the analysis, this is the experience that he has selected some topics, that these topics the students must prepare when they're preparing for finance and management. So,
Yes,
but
and you have to. I believe that you have to blindly trust someone. If you, there are many people who just for the sake of attaining perfection, they will do everything by themselves. They will analyze by themselves. Then they will try to read everything, every material, every section. But that is now how you crack an exam. You take advice of someone who is being in this field for many years, and you just trust them. I just did that, and it was beneficial.
now, Deepak, we have talked about finance, but I think one very important paper this was, that is ESI. Static was nowhere there, and it was all scheme based, scheme heavy examination. So what was your approach? Because phase one also there are schemes that are being asked. Schemes are, I think, now is the core component when I talk about, especially ESI. When I talk about scheme is the core component from the past year. So what was your approach towards the schemes? Because they are not direct questions. They are case study based questions. First of all, you have to understand the scheme. You have to solve the questions on these schemes. So what was your approach on these kind of questions, especially
Uh,
scheme?
yes, I understood the question. To be honest, I was really shocked to see the how difficult the ESI paper was actually. I literally started laughing during the exam at that day, and I knew that they will ask themes because in the past also they have asked several schemes. So during my preparation I had the EduTap has those two documents of schemes. They are really bulky, but me and my friends had highlighted some important schemes which we had to cover, and we made notes out of those schemes, and we just revised those notes which we had made in Evernote. So our strategy was pretty simple, that we had to just revise a lot of time those scheme points, and we knew factual data will be asked. But instead of in spite of doing so many things, when the paper came, I will tell you that out of 30 questions in first round I was able to solve only 3 questions in the ESI paper. I was really, it was an extremely difficult paper, and rest of the attempts that I made, I attempted maybe around 11, 12, or 13 questions out of 20. There were 30 questions or 20 questions. I
Yes,
don't
30
remember
questions.
actually.
Total 30 questions were
30.
there.
So more, 21, 22. I attempted 21, 22 and just tried to recall everything. But it was extremely difficult paper. And I will tell you, I'm not scoring more than 15 in the SI objective paper.
So as you are mentioning about the two documents that I think main schemes document you're talking about, because in which we are covering the detailed coverage, and the next other one is schemes tab in which the mind maps we are making. So were you reading both the documents, or have you been stick to the main schemes document?
No, no, only one. I stuck to only one document, and I
Okay,
made notes out of them.
okay. And the other important thing that I wanted to ask you is, because as you are mentioning that you have made notes, so what was the strategy that you have applied? Because I think reading such a number of schemes will also become a tedious task. So what was your strategy? Were you only covering those schemes which were seen in news, or have you shortlisted some ministries for which you were saying, okay, I have to
Yes,
cover the
yes.
schemes of these ministries?
Yes, that's something I had done a priori, and I knew that they were focusing on Ministry of Health, Finance, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Rural Development. They have been asking. Agriculture they do not usually ask, but they did ask Gokul Mission
Well,
and some other.
yes.
So I knew that they were focusing some ministries, and I focused on those ministries, and I did cover some schemes that were in the news, because I also read the EduTap's finance current affair through this live practice session MCQs PPTs. So I covered from that also. So basically, yes, both things I had done.
And Deepak, one thing again I wanted to ask you is, because as you are saying schemes are becoming difficult, you have read the schemes. Because if you have read the schemes, then also you are saying, because the most tedious task that the examination is to identify a scheme. and they were asking such in-depth statements as a case study has been asked. It's really difficult to identify schemes because many students might feel it's my strength. Scheme is my strength, but then also they are not asking any easy questions. So what was your strategy on that? Because many students might get panicked at that point of time. Okay, I have read such a scheme, but still I do not know anything about that. So what should be the strategy at that point of time, especially about the schemes, or especially about these kind of questions in which you have a confidence in yourself that I will not mark them incorrect.
So in that case, you have to be confident even at those times, because if you are not getting them, then most of them are not getting them. So you have to be calm first of all and try to uh, uh, identify the low hanging fruits. There are always some low hanging fruits in the those 30 questions, and you have to just think and think, go after the look after the question again and again and again. And once you read it twice or thrice, you get some idea, you get some hint that it might not be this, it must be this. And you have to trust your intuition in the exam hall. If you think that on the basis of what you've read and revised that this must be the scheme, then I will tell you to just mark it. Trust your instinct, trust your preparation, and mark it. Do not leave it as it is. So these are my 2 points. Be calm, trust your preparation, and trust your instinct.
And Deepak, we have talked about schemes, but this year there was two very surprising bounces. One was the report of Human Capital Index, which was released way back in 2020. Then they have asked a question of India-Australia Economic Cooperation Agreement and Raisina Dialogue, which were again not the topics that generally RBI students were expecting. So how you have handled these topics? Because handling scheme, you are saying is a difficult task, but handling these kind of questions will again be something that will be quite interesting to know from you.
See, the India-Australia economic partnership, that was a bit expected question because that was being covered by all institutions, and I had also solved mock test which had asked these questions. So that was expected. But yes, Ryzen and Dialogue is, it is not as if it's a state-sponsored institution.
Yes.
So it's not a state-sponsored dialogue. So why are you asking that? So so it was really difficult question. I could not get it correct. I did not know how to solve it. And the other question was human capital index. I will tell you, in my notes there are more than 100 indexes that I had prepared from the current affairs, from the index notes, and from my UPSC preparation. I knew most of indices that were released in the past 1 year. I knew the what were their components, and on what basis they are judging what is India's rank, who is first, who is second, who is third. But they asked something from to attempt. So at that time, you just have to laugh and.
See, I think one important thing that you are also mentioning is that it's better to leave these kind of questions because you cannot do anything on these kind of questions. Because if I also say about human capital index, as I have talked to other aspirants also, they are also saying it's better to leave this question because
Exactly.
instead of getting emotionally attached to these kind of questions, it's better to leave these questions. And what you will advise to the to the aspirants who are now starting preparing, because many students now might feeling that we have to read indices of 2020, 2015 or 2016 might be back like that. So what should be the strategy for the upcoming aspirants who are looking into this thing, that what you will guide to those students?
So firstly, it is not established that they are asking such old indices repeatedly. It is just asked once, and one should not make opinion based on questions that are asked only once. So if again this year RBI asks the older 2 years back indices, then the aspirant has some reasons to prepare those areas. But right now, I would suggest you to just stick to the past 6 month, 8 months current affairs and indices. Prepare them. uh, Whatever is your one source, if you have one source for indices, you do it repeatedly. You have one source for schemes, you do it repeatedly. You do what is being told by your mentors, just trust them, and you do not chase after the difficult question. This is the issue with most of them. They see one difficult question and they start thinking about how should I prepare this difficult question. But at the same time, there are several easy questions, and people do not fail an exam because they don't solve difficult questions. They fail because they incorrectly mark the easier questions.
I think this is again the important point he has mentioned. It is, I think, return of output mentions. Return of output is very important thing here. If you are investing in some source, and if its return of output is very less, I think it's better to skip these kind of resources. For example, for human capital index, if it is a possibility that I think almost no one will know about the answers
No
that they have
one.
asked from human capital
I
index.
could not even, I did not know that it was human capital index. I had no zero idea, even after reading that whole paragraph.
Okay, and uh, here also I think the important thing in when the examination is getting tougher, especially in the ESI examination or finance, if they are becoming tougher. So now here I think the descriptive paper of English plays a very important role in the examination. So what should be the approach of the
Yes.
aspirants if this kind of examination is coming? So what should be the approach? What was your approach towards descriptive English also?
Okay, particularly descriptive English only. No.
Yes.
Uh, I did not do anything special for descriptive paper. As I said, I read newspaper regularly, and I did this time write several essays for descriptive practicing. And I had installed Grammarly on my laptop, and I used to check grammatical correctness of my sentences. And there was few pointers that I was sticking to. I had to mention keywords. I had to be diverse in my essay, and I had to be multidimensional. But I had to be very simple in my presentation. I had to be very short in my sentence structure, and I think this is something that will definitely reward your English paper. The sentences should be short, include a lot of keywords, do not make spelling and grammatical errors, and write to the word limit. Do not write much less, and I think it will reward you.
So Deepak,
And
one
I would like
important
to
point.
highlight that
Yes,
I would
yes.
like to highlight that in this year's essay paper, in this year's descriptive English, I wrote essay of 662 words. So it seems that now they have not penalized at all. I've wrote more than 10, more than what is generally perceived as the allowed exceeding of word limit.
This is the point I just wanted to ask you about the word limit, because generally students have a doubt in the mind that whether they should stick to the limit if they have written 2 to 3 words more than the word limit, whether it will affect their score or not. And not just only about descriptive English, but even when you are writing descriptive answers for ESI and finance also. So what should be the approach when you are writing, especially on the word limit?
Okay. So descriptive English, as you can see, there is a live example. I've written more than 60 words more in the essay paper, so I have not been penalized. So, but you should stick to the 10% plus minus word limit. I would say do not go 10% minus. Be close to the word limit. I think they are giving marks based on how much words you write, how much correct you are, and that I think holds true for even ESI and financial management paper also, because after the results came of phase 2, I had discussions with my friends who were very good in objective papers, but then the difference between them and me is out of 4,000 word limit combined of both finance management and ESI, I had written close to 3,800 words, and they had written barely 2,700 2,800 words. So but that again becomes logical, right? If you are writing more number of words, you are writing the more number of points, you are writing more number of keywords, which their software might have designed to identify those keywords, right? So if you are writing less words, mean basically you have less content, and I think you should avoid writing less in ESI and FM subjective, because I remember I've written very close to the word limit. Even in ESI paper, out of 2,000 words, the total 4 question word limit, I've written close to 1,900, and same with the financial management.
And Deepak, as you are mentioning, you have written such a great answer. I think now here the very important thing for the aspirants who might be listening to you is typing speed. Because for writing such a huge number of answers and writing close to around 3,800 words in the examination, your typing speed must be good. So what was your strategy on the typing speed? How have you practiced this thing?
I would like to disagree here. It is not about the typing speed. It is about the clarity you have and how much fast you are able to recall your thoughts on the particular question. Actually, if you have, and I've noticed that even in the civil service examination, if you know the content, if you have revised it multiple times, you have no issue writing. And I believe that it is because I took pause many times. I took pause for thinking. I was very slow. Sometimes I wrote sentences in between, restructured my sentences. Still, I was able to write this word limit because I was not spending time to think in the exam hall. Generally, people do when the questions come, they start writing content on the paper, and then they start writing. It was not that in my case. I knew what to write, and I just started writing. And yes, some people might face genuine typing speed issues. For them, I would say buy a keyboard which you can attach to laptop and just normally practice on it. It is nothing. It is no silver bullet, and it is not a difficult task to write those many words. Uh, have a minimum amount of practice, and at the same time, revision is most important thing. If you have clarity of content, you will be able to write.
I think again a point that he has made for the aspirants who are aspiring to write this, especially about descriptive answer writing, is that you should have a clarity of structurally writing your answer, and you should be clear about what you have to write in the answer. Then also you can write a better answer. I think in a very quick manner you can write then, because if you have points in your mind, you can easily write your answer. And I think for that, practice is a very important thing. You have to practice. You have to start writing descriptive answers from the beginning when you are preparing for these kind of examinations.
And you have to also get it evaluated by those who know how to write the answers.
So that is again a point that I was just asking, this evaluation, because as you are preparing for UPSC, but still I think evaluation plays a very important role. So have you given mock tests for these phase 2 examination also, and have you evaluated the answers by writing the mock answers or from the mock answers that you have got?
Yes, I did give one subjective paper of EduTap. I think is what it was, maybe mock test 3 or 4, and I did submit it for evaluation. And it was a pretty decent feedback. It was not some drastic change I had to make, but yes, evaluation plays a major role because you have to know that what are the subcomponents of the question, and whether you want to write in paragraph form here or a bullet form here. And in evaluation, they will tell you your weaknesses, that these points should have been included. You need to improve on your content. You need to improve on your structure. The introduction could have been this way. You could have concluded this way. It gives an idea as to how you should approach your answer. So yes, evaluation is definitely a necessity for non-UPSC aspirant.
I think evaluation will also help it, not just giving you clarity about how you are performing, it will also give you clarity about the structure as you are mentioning, because if you are new to descriptive answer writing, structuring it will get better day by day. What will you suggest to the new aspirants who are from non-UPSC backgrounds also? So when they are writing an answer, in some answers they will get evaluation, but some they will get a mock answer. How to approach towards the mock answers also? When you are getting a mock answer, you have written something, how you should analyze your answer from a mock answer that has been provided to the person.
Okay, so firstly, I would not suggest them to make a self-analysis in the earlier stages. What happens is they will analyze within the framework of what they feel is right. So at that time, if the aspirant is in initial stages, they should compare their structure and content with the model answers. And secondly, they should again ask for evaluation by experts. And thirdly, they can ask peers who have spent some years in this descriptive writing, so that they can give you some solid idea.
And this is again a very important point for the newest, for the aspiring aspirants that he has made, is evaluation. You do not have to make yourself believe, okay, I have just evaluated my answer. Yes, you have to at initial stages, you have to get your answer evaluated. And then yes, when you kind of get an idea that yes, now this is a thing that you are lacking, then you can self-evaluate yourself. Now, Deepak, we have talked about
Right.
phase 1 and phase 2. Now, the important thing is the interview stage. So, as you are preparing for UPSC also, but still, I will say that have you given the mock interviews before you have gone to the final interview?
Yes, I gave one mock with EduTap, and I was ready. Since I had my interview on the last day, I had interview on the 7th October. I could not give time to the interview preparation because I had my civil services main examination.
Okay.
But I had an idea that I was good, but that was completely nullified when I gave the mock interview because I kept saying I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, 90% of the time. But the panelists were very patient, and they had a very good understanding of what is required in this exam. And at the end they gave me the areas that I must cover before going to the interview. They told me that to see the fintech department, see the governance speeches, see about financial inclusion, which was actually asked in the final interview. And so yes, they were really patient, and it did really help me to just get awakened. And the most important feedback, the feedback that I learned was that I need to have this finance vocabulary when I speak in the interview. You cannot because, for example, when they ask about the importance of the regulation of the banks in India. So at that time, I had just got away from the fresh UPSC mindset. I told that because it is really important to make them accountable and transparent, and I was including those governance kind of keywords. But at the same time, when he answered that, uh, I had a very enlightening moment. That he mentioned, no, you have to mention depositors' interest must be secured. You cannot, the financial stability must be important. There has to be monetary stability. And those keywords, then I was again focusing on those keywords whenever I was reading editorials of the business standard or the business line, or reading the governance speeches. I was focusing on those keywords then.
So any incident that you can share with the student, because as you are mentioning that yes, they have pointed you on the financial vocabulary that you need to use, and the same thing has been asked in even in your final interview also. So any memory of that you want to share with the aspirants so that they can also have an idea that what was the thing there.
Yes, since I was told that department you must know which department RBI has. So an unexpected question the panelist asked. He asked me, "Do you know about enforcement department?" So I said yes. He asked me, "What is it?" So I told that it is one of the 30 departments with RBI, and he was not expecting me to know what is it, because it is a very unknown department relatively. And I asked my senior, and he told that some guys would answer the enforcement directorate with the central government.
Yes.
So unfortunately, I had asked my senior, who is currently in the RBI. He is in the Department of Supervision. I had just inquired out of curiosity, what is the how does it work? So he told me the procedure, and I answered the same in the exam hall to the interview panel, and he was shocked actually. How do you know this? This information is not in public domain. So I told him this is the case, and he was, I think he was quite impressed with that one.
And the one thing I wanted to ask you is because when you are preparing for these kind of interviews, generally because as you are preparing for UPSC, so we have a mindset that they will be asking you something about your UPSC background, how you came to UPSC, how RBI happened. These are kind of questions which generally is we are expecting that they will ask these kind of questions. But as you're saying, the interview panel, they have said you that you have to be strong about the financial vocabulary. You have to understand about these kind of things. So the other important thing is, how was the interview panel with you? Because were they cordial, or sometimes we feel that they will be a little bit, have they grilled you a lot in the interview?
No, they were very cordial. There was, yes, grilling in the sense there were counter questions, but mostly they were cordial. And if there are areas I don't know, and I say I don't know, they do not push it. They never push anybody, I guess. So I don't think, but yes, there were some experiences where they did grill people, but that was not the case in my interview.
So Deepak, thank you for sharing your experience. Anything you want to say to the aspirants? So you are open. Anything you from your side want to say to the aspiring aspirants?
Okay, I would like to say a few things to the aspirants who are coming new to preparing this RBI Grade B examination. It is a great opportunity. Prepare it well, but and to trust one source of mentorship. Do not seek mentorship from multiple points. You will only get confused. And whenever you are reading, stick to one source. It is not like once you have read finance from EduTap, you will again do finance from something else and again from something else, just to enrich your knowledge. It does not help you in any way. Stick to one source, read it 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, apply it in the mock test, both in objective and subjective, and then again come to revision. It is only the revision which helps you helps you in the final examination. And if you have good revision, howsoever the tough the paper will come, you will perform better than the most of them. And for those who have trouble speaking fluently in English, it is not the parameter of evaluation in the interview hall, what you to the interview panelist. And but yet, the most important thing I have done personally is the reading of newspapers. It has helped tremendously, and I enjoy reading it. I do not read it out of compulsion. So I just read newspaper every day, and it just helps you come. It helps in having that compound effect. Once you read for 6 months, 8 months, a year, and more than that, you have knowledge as well. Your English becomes good, that you can use in the both descriptive and objective paper. You can use that knowledge in the finance subjective, ESI subjective. In the interview, it helps. So reading newspaper is the single most important thing that you will do in this preparation. So that is all I have to say, and all the best.
Thank you, Deepak. Thanks for giving us your precious time. It was nice talking to you. And I think for descriptive, he has really elaborated to the students that what you should do. His experience of UPSC, he has also shared with us. And I think that you will also be starting for UPSC now because you have achieved one thing in your career opportunity, and now you will be focusing more on UPSC, I think.
I'm not sure actually. Let's see.
But still wishing you all the best for your future endeavors, Deepak. It was nice talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate EduTap's role in especially organizing a good content, good mocks, as well as good interview. And I sincerely thank you, EduTap, for their efforts.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.